Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flazanes, and I have a treat for you today. We're going to be talking about Connect, a couples retreat, and what happened. And we're going to be having on one of our favorite couples to tell their story about Connect and how they got there and what happened and what's happened since, and anything and everything evolving and revolving around self-growth and relationships. So welcome, Mandy and Neil. And of course, we have Mr. Doug Sandler as the co-host of today's show.
Hey, everybody.
All right. So, welcome, Mandy and Neil.
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you for having us.
I don't think I've ever heard Neil this quiet.
Oh, that's probably true.
Yeah. Quiet makes hard for an audio podcast, Neil. You have to express yourself here. So we'll get there in time.
We'll get
Don't
there.
worry. Don't worry. There's two of them sharing a microphone. So, we'll ask you specific questions so that it's not necessarily. But if you do have something you'd like to interject, just raise your hand. They can't see you. Maybe on the video in the future, some people will. But in the meantime, those that are listening won't know the difference. And I'll make sure that you guys get that way we're not talking over top of each other. But so to back up a little bit for anyone who's new listening to the show, at my October event, which I do pretty much every year now in 2024, that was the Embodied Healing Intensive. At the VIP dinner, somehow before the dinner happened at the last circle, many people had acknowledged, especially the single people, had acknowledged that Doug and I were good role models. They thought, oh, we want what you have. And it came up. I mean, I just watched the circle. So I know, I remember it. Several people had mentioned that and they said, you guys should do a couples retreat. And Doug started that conversation at the dinner table. And I was way trying to deal with 2025 and what I already had on the table. And I'm like, hold on. Well, okay. But I thought it was interesting how many people were interested at that VIP dinner. So I said, we'll put it together. Just let me get through the beginning of the year to start all the other programs that are already scheduled to do. So Doug sort of took the reins on that one in terms of discussing what we could do. And then lo and behold, of course, we scheduled it in May of 2025. And I think Mandy was one of the first people to sign up, Mandy and Neil. So before we move on to ask you specific questions, Doug, do you have anything to add to what I just mentioned?
No, it was great. I was excited when Mandy kind of raised her hand and said, I think my husband and I will want to participate in that, not even having spoken to Neil already about it, because that was the first I had heard about the couples retreat. So that was really good. And then we'll figure out, was there any resistance in this? We'll figure out a bunch of other things as we chat a little bit more. But no, let's begin the conversation, JJ. Thanks for having me here.
Well, first we have to start with how they got to me or to us in the first place, which was Mandy. So, Mandy, do you want to tell everybody a quick little reminder, whether that your solo episode is published or not? Do you want to tell everybody how you found me?
Yeah, so I was listening to Dr. William Davis of Wheat Belly and Undoctored, and I was listening to his podcast, and he had JJ on, and she was talking about, I think that the subject of the episode was self-sabotage, specifically with diets and losing weight and how we do that. And then she spoke a little bit about her programs and how she likes to approach things is, okay, we only look at the past long enough to figure out the problem, and then we have a lesson, or not a lesson, a treatment plan, step one, step two, step three, to move forward, to move past whatever had happened. And I didn't even take it from me. I was like, oh, I want to send my sister this. And then I just, something really spoke to me about how she spoke and the way she presented things. So then I started listening to her podcast. And then it hit me, oh, this is not for Caitlin. This is not my sister. This is for me.
And then you reached out, you filled out an application because you were interested in the rewire. And I believe you filled out the application and it was already going. So it was 2024. There was no getting into a rewire in 2024. The only option was 2025, but we weren't starting until January. And you had filled out an application. I thought, sure, we'll get on a call. You're 6 months early, but that's okay. We'll have a conversation in July or whenever it was. And then I happened to be starting Date Your Body literally an hour or two after our scheduled call. And I said to Mandy, well, hey, if you want to get started, I mean, it's not, it's a good get your feet kind of wet. It's a beta program. It's less than what it's going to be next time. It's only 2 months. Oh, but you're a Taurus. You probably won't do that. And of course, she took that reverse psychology and went, I'm going to show her. I'm going to do it. So then, of course, she said, I'm in. She sent me money. I gave her the link. She joined the group, and boom, Mandy was in Date Your Body. So it was really awesome. It was great. I'm so happy that you did that. And I'm so happy that I offered it to you, that I even thought that it would be something you might even possibly do. So do you want to talk a little bit, just a little bit about Date Your Body in terms of its effects and any changes? And then I really want to hear from Neil just for a little bit to see, because I'm sure it was part of why you did decide this is okay for us to do, because I know she's made some changes that everyone in the family, it's affected everyone and everyone can see it. So first, Mandy, let's talk a little bit about Date Your Body.
Date Your Body was my introduction to a lot of the tools that you have in your toolbox, because I had not been listening to your podcast for very long. And it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was amazing. It made so much difference in my life and the way that I show up for myself, and the way I show up for other people, and the way I show up in a room when I walk in. It was life changing, but it was just the beginning.
Now, Date Your Body was, I believe, July and August of 2024, and then you came out for the live event in October. And then I know you guys are still connected and still doing things in that group. And then you started the Rewiring Your Core Wound Patterns in January. Neil, did you see any change in Mandy in the last half of last year? Because you didn't start the Rewire till January. So from Date Your Body till December, did you see any changes?
Yes, there were some small changes. Really, the main changes I noticed started and actually, I take that back. They started in at the end of last year, but I don't think I paid attention to it consciously. Um, it was not till after the beginning of this year that I went, huh, there's something going on here. So I know she had talked about Marco Polo and, how she, everybody talks. So one day on the way to work, I was like, well, I'll download it. Why not? And I downloaded it and I sent her one. And ever since then, we've been sending them back and forth,
Nice.
just for fun.
Nice. Yeah, she shared with us that you were doing it and thought it was really cool. So, if you had to pinpoint just one or two of the biggest changes that you saw in her in the last 6 months, what would it be?
Confidence.
Mm.
Her confidence has gone through the roof.
Mm.
Not to say that she's conceited or anything, but
Mm.
she went from the shy introvert to somebody that's going to meetings with people she has no clue who they are. Um, when she went to California last year, that was kind of a kicker. Was it last year?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. That was one I was like, that's not my Mandy. What's going on here? I guess that was probably the time I noticed that there was a change.
Well, I remember Mandy saying, I don't, in the circle, I think you had said, I don't usually think I have girlfriends, or I don't really get along with girls. And so literally besides Patrick, Josh, Ricky, and Doug, it was a room full of women. You were like, and I love you all. You had, right? You want to speak to that for a second, Mandy?
Yeah, so when I joined Date Your Body, I was raised in a tradition where women did not lift each other up. A matter of fact, a lot of times they would tear each other down, but be real sweet about it to your face. So I grew up and became an adult in that kind of environment, and I did not trust women. I felt uncomfortable. I didn't feel like I could be myself. I felt like I would be judged. And then you guys in the group just like all proved me wrong, and it was amazing. And so actually, the group is why I decided to go to the live event in October, because I was like, okay, this can be okay. I can trust people. It's okay. And
Oh yeah, of course, me for sure. But Mandy, did you feel like, and maybe Neil, you can add on to this too. Did you feel like your perceived the perception of you in the world was that you weren't confident, or did you perceive it that you were just being silent for fear that if you were outspoken, you could potentially be cut down or harmed or wounded by somebody else, that another woman that was around you? Because it's really hard to turn a switch on confidence without it feeling fake. And it doesn't seem like, the way that Neil had said, it didn't seem like there was any fakeness going on. It was just, this was the real you that was coming out. So Was your silence the reason for your feeling, the public's feeling maybe that you weren't as confident? What's your thought about that?
Probably a little bit of both, honestly. Part of it was I had forgotten who I was over the years of being mom and being wife. And I didn't remember who I was. So that was part of it. So I was quiet. I didn't know what I liked or what was fun or anything. So that was part, and part really was, because if I open my mouth, if the wrong thing comes out, what
Mm,
will happen?
right, right. I mean, I know you from Connect and from the live event. I have only known you as this new Mandy. I don't know the old Mandy, so I don't have anything to compare it to. But it would seem like the real you is the one that I'm seeing now, as opposed to the previous one. You just had to leave that other shit behind. Is that fair for me to say that, Neil? Can you answer that maybe?
Well, it was just she was withdrawn from fear of upsetting somebody else. That's kind of the gist I got from it. And I know this is way later on in the process, but she finally realized that it's not her responsibility for how other people perceive her.
Right, right.
And that changed a lot in her.
All right, so now we have that Mandy started with Date Your Body. Well, Dr. Davis's podcast, and I actually have done a couple episodes on his podcast. I don't know
Hmm.
how far back you've gone into, because I looked once because I wanted him to tell me like who else he could refer to me for my show, and then I look at who he's interviewed. I'm like, he hasn't interviewed very many people. Oh my God, I've been on like 4 times. I was like, I'm like a star guest on Dr. Davis's podcast, which was kind of fun. So, and then you got to the Date Your Body beta, and then now you're in the Rewire. You're in the 9 month version of the Rewire, and then the Connect comes up, and so you fill out the application. We get on a call with the two of you. Neil, let's talk about from your perspective when she approached you about doing this, how you felt about it. If you were obviously you came, so you were interested, but was there resistance? Was there fear? What, how did you feel about it?
Actually, it was more of seeing her be confident and willing to stretch or go into it gave me the confidence that I said, I have a passport. I've never used it. Sure, let's do it. And yeah,
So was it the fact that it was in Mexico also a draw, that like we're getting out of the country and we're going together and we're getting away from children and work and all of that?
yes.
Okay, good. Just checking.
Oh
Just
yeah.
checking. Okay. And so you're like, okay, let's do it. And then leading up to doing it, was there any discussion between the two of you about like, were you nervous at all about what we would do or who we were? Or did you listen to any podcasts at all or ask any questions?
Tell the truth.
What?
He's like, are we going to do all that woo woo stuff?
Well, that's fair. I mean, I was like that too. I mean, not with Connect, but with my initial entree to the entire JJ world. I was an
Hmm.
East Coast guy coming to a West Coast event, and not East Coast necessarily geographically. I was a West Coast guy as of the time I came to the first event, but it did seem like, oh man, is this gonna be a slightly uncomfortable for me? And I would say, I really feel like I found my people. I really did. I found like this is great. I get to connect with people that I really enjoy. We're having conversation that seems to be engaging, and there's a lot of empathy going on, a lot of compassion. I mean, all the things that I never thought guys could be. I always felt like women could be that way. I always felt like that was like always like a sign of weakness for a guy to be empathetic or compassionate, even
Hmm.
though I was always that kind of guy. It's hard to show those feelings an environment that's not as accepting. And if maybe I have this wrong, but were you of the type that said, why do we need to go to this? Everything seems to be fine. Or were you of the type that said, maybe we should go to this because I have some things I need to work on?
Actually, it was a little combination of the two. So I I knew our marriage is solid. I knew we have there wasn't a lot of things that I could say, oh, yeah, wow, that's bad. You know, we need to work on that. We need to go to counseling, or we need to, go to a retreat. But honestly, I went for the fun aspect. That was the main draw for me. Um, Getting to go to Mexico was just cake.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Well, did you have fun?
No, it was horrible. I hated it all. Absolutely. I loved every minute of it.
That's funny. You're a good
Well,
dancer too. I saw you. We got it on film. Just so you
Oh
know, we have it
gosh.
on iPhone.
okay. And were there woo-woo things?
Um, yes, but it wasn't woo-woo to me. It was different. It was not something, it was outside of my comfort zone. But I went into this, on the flight down there, thinking about it. I'm gonna do with it whatever it takes. I'm gonna do it.
Well, when I hear woo, I think of things like, we're gonna get into the touchy-feely like stuff that we can't really put our finger on. We're gonna talk about astrology. We're gonna get into this. I think the activities that we did were really designed around good communication, relationship building, the importance of touch. I mean, things that we love languages. I don't think that maybe in old school it might seem like that's woo, but I don't understand how one could perceive what we did in that environment in Mexico as as like, oh, this is stuff that just
Esoteric.
healers and esoteric people
Well,
and
hold on. Well, you said you can't comprehend. So ask Neil. He said we did. So what was it that we did
yeah,
that was kind of
what
woo?
was still woo? I challenge you on that one. That would be good.
Okay. We did talk about astrology, but I actually found that interesting, and
Yeah.
especially the way that you use it, JJ. It's different than what you imagine in the woo-woo touchy-feely incense thing that you see on TV. As a Southern man, you hear these things and you're going, "No, I don't know about this."
At no point
That
did a crystal ball come out, though. You know that, right? At no point did a crystal ball make its way to the table.
No, I think there were spies though, right? Was it spies?
Spice?
Code
Oh,
words.
Code words, right?
code words. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
right. That
that's
we only
true.
played once, but we'll make up for that in the future. So astrology, as a Southern man, you said those things you see on TV, it wasn't like that. What else was woo?
Well, I don't know if you want me to talk about the entire experience or what.
Well, I mean, why don't you talk about your interpretation of it versus like the actual? I mean, you can, yeah. When we do this again, we will be using some of the same tools, but let's say,
Okay.
and no pressure. Let's say you guys want to come back. We wouldn't be using all the same tools because if anybody is coming back for a second time, just there is no JJ event, even if it has the same damn title, that is ever the same because everyone's in a different position and needs different things. So we take like for you guys for this one, let's say if you're talking about the Tantra, we only did it one time, but let's say the next one might have it more and deeper and more of that than we did this time because of what we were establishing a foundation. And when the
All right.
foundation's already been established, then we can move on to do other things.
Well, nothing like the couples dialogue. I mean, you can't duplicate that in I mean, you can do it over and over and over again and never feel like you're ever finished with that. I mean, you and I have done couples dialogue many times, JJ. We have different subjects that we're doing it on. So it's like the tools remain the same. It's the attendees
Topic.
that will and the topics that change the dynamic of what that. Yeah, Mandy, what do you think?
Oh no, I wanted to let you finish. But so at the live event last year in October, we did the couples dialogue, the safe dialogue, and it was pretty cool, but there is something that's very, very different when you're doing it with someone you don't know or you
Mm-hmm.
don't know well, at a
Mm-hmm.
live event, and then doing it with your partner.
Yeah.
That is a completely different experience. Because if I had come home from October and said, "Hey, I would like to have this dialogue with you," we have scripts, he would have looked at me like I was nuts. But when you experience it, it's very, very powerful, and it's a whole different level.
Yeah.
So you had not asked Neil after between October. So that was your first experience with it, with the
hmm
dialogue. Neil? Okay. Yeah, and you do have to say it's a script and that's gonna feel weird. And you're like, right, get over but once you get over that, it's what creates the safety for any hard conversation that you're gonna have. It's almost
Yeah.
necessary. When we were doing the work with you guys, Doug and I did the safe conversation again on the topic that we were talking about in Mexico. And I literally, when we started doing, I said, you know what? I'm tired of this. We have talked about this so many times, but you're all going to come to know that it was the most impactful time that we did it, even though I wanted to throw it away. I want to be like, okay, we've talked about it so many times. I'm over it, whatever. Like, it's literally what I said. I'm over it, whatever. And then we did it, and boom, boom, boom. There were connections made and decisions that happened that became amazing. And we won't share that now, but it is a testament to that if you give the structure the respect and time and space it needs for anything you're going through, you don't know what's going to come up in that moment. Because I didn't know what was going to come up. I had no idea that we were going to come to things that we came to. And it was pretty amazing. So I'm glad that you did get to experience it with each other, and that Neil, your first time doing it was with Mandy. But so in terms of any other woo things that again, and I agree with Doug, be honest, because this
Yeah.
is to share with the women and the men. There are plenty of men that listen to my show. They just don't talk. They don't speak up. They're not like they're gonna see all the women and they go, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm not gonna say anything. And then the women go, oh, I want you to know, I want you to share this with you. Oh, but it's all women. No, it's not all women. They're just the men are just silent. So speak to
You
the
know,
men.
when you get in that, sorry, Neil, give me just one quick second and I'll give the floor to you. When you're at the event, the live event or Connect or wherever it is that you're going, a live JJ event, and if there are 9 women for every man that's there or even more, you don't feel it at all. I was in that room for years. I've been in a room filled with women that are learning from you, JJ, and a few guys that are there too. I never feel like it's that lopsided. I'm so in touch with that side of me that I just receive the message rather than look at the environment and thinking all of these women they're learning what can I be learning at the same time. Actually a very good environment for a man to be in. Sorry, Neil, I didn't mean to steal your thunder
No,
there.
you're fine.
Thanks, babe. Okay, Neil.
So the Tantra was really weird for me. Again, Southern man, we don't do stuff like that. Stuff like that.
He put up air quotes for those of you who are listening.
Oh, well, I forgot. Uh, so it was different, but I will say I felt safe. I felt not judged because everybody was doing it. And that's the big thing with guys is, you got to be the alpha dog. You got to be the alpha male in the room at all times. So if you're doing something that's touchy feely, woo woo, um, it makes you feel like less of a man. But whenever I saw Mandy look at me the way she did when I started doing these things, I didn't care. I loved it. I absolutely enjoyed it. And it opened a lot of things up, and not in just between us, but in myself. I learned a couple things.
I
Well,
think
I,
you,
I I've heard some of these things, so I'm gonna let you guys talk about. First, let's talk about what together you think you got out of the retreat that is new, different, or elevated in your relationship. Let's just start there, and then we'll go personally.
You may go first.
Go first.
Okay. So I thought we had a great marriage. I mean, and we did have a great marriage. And so I was just going to, see what happens, what comes up. I thought it would be fun. I do enjoy the tools individually, so I thought it'd be fun to share it because I had noticed that he had started asking questions and doing some of the things like he had started a little bit of the appreciations, the rampages of appreciations. Um, but what I didn't expect was the deepening of the connection because I didn't know that it could go any deeper. Um, I did not expect the communication to get better, and it has. I did not, I kind of hoped that the physical connection would get better, and it has. But yeah, so everything, it's like if you've been looking through glasses that are just, they have a little haze of gray across them, right? and you've never taken them off and you don't know anything different. And then all of a sudden you can see without that haze of gray and how vibrant everything is. That's what it feels like.
Beautiful. Neil?
What I learned between us, I learned that Mandy is a lot more touched than she thought she was. Um, I learned about boundaries and things of that nature, and how to, for lack of better terms, woo my wife again. And that's been great. And I learned that I love her even more than I did when we went, if that's even possible.
Beautiful. How about collectively? Or not collectively, how about individually? What individual things? Because I know there's been some changes happening since you got back. So let's share what that has been for you each.
Well, mine's little, so you may do it.
Go ahead.
So on the airplane back, I just started getting ideas. It's like, okay, there are things that I have not committed to or that I haven't been willing to commit to. And it had nothing to do with Neil. Like I made an idea list, I would really like to do this. And so I made like an idea list on my way back from Mexico and and have been consistent in that thing that I didn't commit to or wasn't willing to commit to just because it felt like the right time. So that was so ideas have been coming. But the really amazing thing on the way back from Mexico is, don't kill me. So Neil historically has been very whiny,
Hmm.
grumpy. If anything impedes him in any way or inconveniences him at all. And on the way back, like our flight, we were stuck in an airplane. It was like 90 degrees in the airplane. The air conditioner wasn't working for like an hour. And then our flight got delayed. And then all of these things happened that inconvenienced him, that impeded his progress home. And he was not. He was different. He was like, hey, this is we've been married 21 years. This is a first. We've never been delayed in an airport before. This is an adventure. And I'm going, oh my gosh, who are you?
I love it.
However, I just realized while we were stuck on that plane, my fan was in the backpack.
Oh, and you could have turned it
Anyways,
on.
sorry. Um, no, so with me, a lot of things have changed. I realized while we were gone, Mandy took some huge strides in um, courage, stepping out, and I think the term y'all use is stretch. She
Yep.
stretched a lot, and I got to thinking about it. And I'm going, what am I not stretching on? What am I not doing that I know I probably should be? So we started talking on the way back, and I started talking about first it was opening my own uh, financial planner business, which we had discussed a little bit of that while we were up there, and contacting one of the other businesses that had interest in me. Um, but the main thing was when I got back to work and I immediately felt misery. I hated going to work for somebody else, doing things that I know I shouldn't be doing, as far as that's not my cup of tea. That is not what I'm good at. Why am I even doing this?
Mm.
To get a paycheck? And so finally, I was sitting there, Mandy and I were texting back and forth, and I finally said, okay, I think I'm going to put my 2 weeks in. And in the financial world, whenever you put 2 weeks in, usually they say, well, there's the door. Sorry, we can't have you here. You're now a liability. So I was immediately let go upon putting in my 2 week notice. And had more freedom to do all the things I've wanted to do. And I've probably been more productive as a human being, not just as myself and not just as the house, not just as, financial planner, not just as day trading, but all these things all at once within the past 2 weeks have been just nonstop and awesome.
Do you think that some of the work that we did helped you to get there in terms of the realization of the joy that you were looking for? Not just obviously you had joy in your marriage, but it's really the combination of, yeah, my life needs to have the same kind of joy and excitement.
Well, it wasn't much of the work that we did. It was when you were talking about JJ, you were talking about if you need money, do something. Do something different. Sell something. Uh, make a job. And that really hit me. And I thought about it and thought about it, and it rattled around for 3 days. And finally, I was like, I'm going to do something. And, you know, we sat out on the patio or on the balcony talking about, me being a financial planner and, what that entails and, the fact of all the things that we went through, Mandy and I both, to get me certified, to get me licensed, to get
Mhm.
everything done. And why am I letting somebody else stop me from doing what I want to do? Which is what I've been doing for the past forever.
Well, congratulations. Welcome to the club of crazy
Yeah.
people who jump
Self-employed.
out of the plane and then build or jump and then build the plane on the way down. So, which is totally fine because it can give you such energy and excitement to be a creator and to follow that intuition and the path and the joy and the things that light you up. I loved doing this retreat with you guys because it's taking the same toolbox I use individually and then bringing it together in having that ability and that time and that space to help somebody utilize it in real time in a
Hmm.
relationship that matters to them. It's one thing when we do this stuff online, we can make changes, but it's not until you're in person living and breathing and being yourself and then like having to look at that for a second and say, well, how is my being? With some other participants, I had to, lay the sledgehammer down a little bit and be like, okay, let me give you some feedback about your being, not this exercise, but just in general, because until you have that feedback, you're in a bubble. You don't know what you're doing necessarily because you're not necessarily conscious of your own behavior because you're in your own bubble, just being you, reacting to life the way that it does, which is why I think it's super important that all people, I mean, Doug and I, when we first got together, he moved in June of 2018. We'd only been together really kind of since the end of April. And come January of 2019, our butts were in a couples workshop, because not because our relationship was bad, but because I started to see the little bad habits and beliefs and patterns in his last relationship and my last relationship. And I thought, nope, we're not letting that take over. We need to go nip that in the bud, get some different tools and nip, get rid of this, rewire this, change this, shift this, shift ourselves. And since then we have definitely taken time, and because that's why we worked right alongside you guys. We did every exercise you did. And because it makes people stronger. It's not just about the people that are in disarray and or they're going to get divorced tomorrow, Neil.
Well, seeing y'all go through it with us and seeing how y'all interacted really helped us out. And Doug, watching you go through it really helped me out because, I'm a words guy too. So,
Mhm.
and I've used your saying many times since we've come back. Um,
What's the saying? I don't even know what it was.
oh gosh,
What I heard you say
what I heard you
is,
Oh.
say is I've used
I
that
did
many,
that
many
today. I
times.
did that today with you, JJ, without saying the words. I said something and you didn't respond, so I just responded as if I were you.
Yeah, it was something outside. I don't know what you were talking about. And again, it was one of those random things that it didn't invite a conversation. It was like a statement. Like he made a statement. Let's just say, oh, something about the tree. And I'm thinking, okay. And then he goes, and then because I didn't say anything, he goes, well, that's wonderful observation, Doug. And he starts having a conversation with himself. And I just watched and I thought, and then he was done. But he knows that, he'll say, well, I wasn't asking for your feedback, but clearly you are wanting to be acknowledged because you had this
Right.
fill in the blank. So for those of you listening that don't know what we're talking about, it has been mentioned on the podcast before, but Doug is a master. He's a words of affirmation is his first love language.
I'm a word
And
slut. A word slut.
he's this word slut. And I used to joke, you could even lie to him. It doesn't even matter. You can just use the right words. You don't have to be authentic about it. He'll just take the words. That's not completely true anymore, but it's close. You can try. So if I was to say something kind of neutral, let's say I'm about accuracy. Mandy and I are more like the structure, accuracy, the like knowing all the details of the things, and Neil and Doug are like the feeling guys. And not that you're not detail oriented, but
I
you're all
don't
about like
remember what they said. I just remember how it made me feel, right?
right.
Hmm.
So I have watched Doug over time hear me say something that it's not positive, it's not negative, it's just neutral. But because it's not flowery and positive and an affirmation towards him, he'll stop it. He sees the words coming. My hand is up right now. He'll stop it from coming. He'll turn it around and he'll say, "What I heard you say was," so let's just say I said, "Doug, you didn't put the trash back." He'd say, "What I heard you say was, you took out the trash and that was amazing. And it helped me so much that you saved my life." Right. And he'll fill in the blank so that way he doesn't, quote unquote, get his feelings hurt. So that is the Doug way of changing what you might interpret as negative or criticism and making it positive and being your own best cheerleader. So it is a skill. It is a
Well,
good skill.
and Neil, you are worthy of all. When I heard you talk about your job when we were standing on the balcony and you were talking about your job, I could hear the enthusiasm drop out of your voice as unlike the rest of the time that you and I were hanging out together and doing the activities, and even when we were just socializing outside of the activities, I was feeling a very positive, uplifting, optimistic person in this job that you felt like the exact opposite of those things. And I am not one to tell somebody, "Oh, well, why don't you just quit your job?" Because I am so conservative. I would be like, when you told me when you came home and we started texting and you said, "Hey, I left my job," the first thing I thought was, "Oh shit, I hope he did not hear advice from me. I told him to quit his job." It was more like my feeling was, why don't you see what you can find while you still have that job? Beg, borrow, and steal as much of that time as you can so that you can find another job and then gracefully kind of slowly decline out of that job. And it was like, no, you just pulled that band-aid off really quick.
I think
I
in
am the opposite of him, though. I would have said, Mandy did the
Yeah.
numbers and told you, and I would have been like, yeah, go, run, jump, fly. Look at the numbers. I have a podcast for anyone who's listening to this, and maybe Neil, maybe this might be one you might want to listen to. It's called How Can I? And it's literally, I have a couple I sent to a few people today. The price to pay for living your purpose, stretching yourself into new results, and how can I? And those three podcasts are all about the stretching in the financial way to say that when you accept someone else's determination of what you're worth or giving you the guidelines, especially for someone like you, Neil, you need the flexibility, you need the freedom to have the creative intuition and the hits and to be fueled by your emotions to make your choices, not just logically, because the logic piece feels constraining. Not that logic isn't part of what you do, of course, but it's that when it's like you said, for somebody else, why are you going to work so hard for somebody else? You're never going to work harder than you're going to work for yourself.
Yep.
Anyone,
Yep.
right? So I'd be like, fly, go, just go. Like, if you can do it, do it.
what was funny about it is as soon as I left, we got COVID. I mean, just right after, and it didn't kill my mood. I was not upset. I got up every morning. I went to look at my trades and I did my daily stuff and went to go. I'm working on my continuing education for my licensures, and it didn't really affect me. Yeah, I felt horrible, but if I was having to be miserable going to a place where I didn't really care to, and I didn't feel good, oh, it would have been so bad to live with me at that point.
Yeah.
Well, I congratulate you for the courage to fly and be free. And and it's an exciting journey. It is extremely rewarding. I love being a creator. I knew what we were kind of going to do when we got there, but I love coming into a situation with a bag of tools and going, okay, what do we need? And then being in the moment and saying, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to go here. Here's the things I can use. Here's the things I might use. And here's the things that, nope, we're not using that. Nope, nope, not right. Like being in the moment, because it's like, to me, it's thrilling. It's life. It's being in the moment. It's being present. And I run every event like that. Even if I have content that I think I'm going to do, there's always a possibility that I will go right out the window if it isn't the right content for the moment, for the people, for the energy, for where we're going. So, but I'm excited for you and where you're going to go with that. And I know Miss Mandy, we've been talking about her flying, and I've kind of been trying to plant that seed for over a year, and she'd be all tight-lipped, like, and I'd say, so what else do you want to do? Like talking about the big leap. And she kind of held real tight on that. She did not share till recently, like literally our last one-on-one session, that she bought a domain with her own business name like 2 years ago. I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like, yes, and not again, when we're doing a smart, like here's the smart move, and then you do the numbers and you go, oh, well, that's not as hard as I thought it might be. It's actually pretty possible, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, and it was actually COVID that did that. So I actually love my job. I love what I do. I have two jobs. I love one of them and I like one of them. I love one of them. I like one of them. I'm good at both. Um, but because I had to work from home because I had missed work and I couldn't miss any more work, not only for the money, but also for just getting behind. And so I had to set up the ability to work from home, which I had been kind of putting off. And then as I was doing the job that I would normally do at my workplace, I was going, okay, how much can I get done in a day if I'm not answering phones and being interrupted
Hmm.
constantly? And okay, well, how would I price that if I just did that from home for anybody and not just my current boss? Because do I want to make more money? Do I want to have more time? Both. Okay. And so then I set my prices. I can get this much done in a day. I want to make more than double what I make now in the same amount of time. Okay, here's how my pricing structure would be. Or if I wanted to and didn't want the money and I wanted more time, well then I could work half the time and still make more than I'm making now. So it
Now
was
you're
very
thinking,
illuminating.
woo!
That was really good, especially after that cab ride that we had. We were going
Hmm.
through crunching some of the numbers and like, oh, what does an hourly make on something like that? And it was
Hmm.
all totally realistic from within the capacity of what you already had your hands on. Now you just needed to put out your shingle and do it on your own.
I'm not ready to do that yet, and I
Okay.
am moving toward it. I did actually, because my first step is to ask, and I did. I was brave. I'm not. I historically, I have not been assertive. I have not asked for what I wanted from people other than Neil, because he lives with me. But I went to work that first day back and blindsided him. I was
Mm,
like, I really love working here. I love my job. I would really like to move toward this aspect of my job full time and lay down this other piece that I think we need to hire somebody else for. And it really blindsided him. And he didn't say anything else about it. And so, like, a week went by, and then I got a text from his wife, who is also a business owner. And she's like, we're on vacation, but I think we're going to have a conversation about how to make this work when we get back. And I was like,
nice.
oh my gosh. Oh my
Well, they
gosh. You mean
they
I ask for what
realize.
I want and then I get it?
I don't think people that don't ask for what they want ever get it because you're always guided by somebody else's dream rather than your own dream. So, way to go, Mandy. That's very cool to hear. That it's good to see how you can go from where you were to where you're heading just through something that is within your own power to do. So,
Hmm.
way to go.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Well, and for those of you that are listening, as you can tell by this conversation, we covered and inspired a lot more than just couple stuff. And
Yes.
because what happens is, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, Doug and I don't turn off. We are the same all the time. We do not have poker faces. We do not present ourselves in one way and have on-camera personalities and then are different when you're with us. No, no, we are the same. In fact, on Doug's ride back from LAX with the driver that I have hired to take all my people back and forth for VIP days, Javier, he gave him a 2 hour coaching session for free. He basically restructured all of Javier's businesses and to make him more money in the whole 9 yards, automate things, make things, just because to, Doug would rather than sit quiet for 2 hours.
Oh my
Let's
gosh.
let's figure something out. Let's work something out. And so this is what we do when you go on a cab ride from Bucieros, Mexico to Sayulita, Mexico, which is a 30-minute cab ride, and you're in the car together, then Doug's gonna pull on the coaching hat no matter what it is. If it's couples, individual, it's business, we're just gonna want because we love creating and talking about and problem solving these kinds of things, and that's sort of the package you get when you travel with us.
Well, it reminds me of every time I've ever gone to a conference, and while you're learning from the presenters at the conference, oftentimes I learn or get more out of the social networking that happens in between the
Hmm.
sessions or right before a session or after a session. So for me, that stuff is just as valuable in the program. Like, could you do this virtually online? Sure, you could probably do it online. Would you get the same thing out of it? I mean, you guys answer that question. Would you get the,
No.
would you have
No.
got right? Exactly. Off camera, off paid time, let's call it. Didn't you feel like you got your value from just, even if you didn't have the programming, wouldn't you have gotten some good value out of just those cab rides and dinners alone?
Yes.
And then some.
And that's what I feel too. And I love, and I appreciate that answer. It is exactly how I feel about everything that I do. It's like I'm going for this purpose, but I don't want to ignore the opportunity that's presented to itself outside of this purpose.
And as I've always said, this work isn't just about your personal relationships. It bleeds into every area of your life. You know,
Mhm.
Mandy started in Date Your Body, which was about the connection to your body and your relationship with your body and your health and your self-care, which again affects everything in your life. And then you move to the Rewire, which is about you and your own patterns and habits, which affects every area of your life. And then we do the couples retreat, which affects every area of your life. Like there's no sectioning of your life that doesn't bleed into the other or affect the other. So they're all important, and which is why you can't quite pick a lane, because there is no lane. This is called life, and it all blends together. Even the business stuff, when I had the mastermind and now the Radiant Sacred Circle, we do all of it because it all affects your ability to show up in the world, your ability to have joy and to manifest the things that you want. Because if you're free, you can't turn your frequency from I'm miserable over here and somehow I'm going to be super joyous over here. And Neil, I think that's where you saw the disconnect of, wow, I'm flying high, and then when I look at like my livelihood, I go blah. Like that's not what I want. Like that's not the situation, and that doesn't feel right. That feels incongruent with what we're doing here in creating a life together that's magical. And I want it to continue in every area of my life. So what changes do I need to make to up level to be in the place where it all feels the same? Yeah? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
All right. So, if for anyone who's out there, and again, I'm sure we'll do it again next year. I don't know when at this point, but we'll see what happens at the live event in October. What would you tell anybody who's listening, male and female, people who are also struggling with their relationship and don't come from the same place you guys come from? Their relationship isn't great. They're not best friends. They are fighting. They're thinking about getting divorced. They've been in couples therapy. What would you tell anybody listening about this event and what you think its value is?
Go ahead.
I would say do it. I would say, um, Neil and I are very good communicators, but everybody in our physical life, our physical surroundings maybe is not. And so I can definitely see how the tools that we learned there could be life freaking changing for people who don't maybe connect or communicate productively. Like if when you start to talk about a thing and then it spirals into arguing or something like that, um, just go. What you're going to learn is going to be so amazing. And then when you have your partner, the person that you have chosen right there with you, doing it with you, there is something just magical about that connection. And it will change everything. You may go home, you may still get divorced, but you will be different, and you will be different in the next relationship that you show up in. But that's what I would say. What do you say?
What I noticed is because there were other couples. Not only did we learn from you and Doug, but we also learned from the other people that were there, and vice versa. Hopefully, they learned something from us, but it was a safe, comfortable, sometimes uncomfortable situation um, that you can learn from and learn from everyone. So I think it was magical.
Thank you.
Maybe a little woo woo.
Thank you. Well, now you're not so opposed to the woo-woo when you see what results it gets you. And I love what you just said about learning from the other couples, and I'm sure the other couples learned from you. And I love what you said about it sometimes is uncomfortable. But can't you see at the end how we had to go through certain I mean, let's just as a witness, did you not see a change from day one till the last day in certain people's nervous systems, in their communications choices, naturally, not even they like it shifted some things to me. I saw a shift in a very heightened situation go from code red down
Hmm.
to maybe like, oh, yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of you are in code red and you've done the things and you don't know. Now, again, we don't have one coming up soon. So unfortunately, I mean, you can reach out. Maybe we'll do some couple stuff, but it won't be a retreat anytime soon. But to me, this had to happen because that there are people who attended who don't have 6 months. They don't have a year to wait because they're in code red. And again, these tools and that whole group environment of being able to, like, Neil, I remember you sharing something about something someone else was going through and said, I did that too. And I think that was so impactful because, the story that they had going on was it was about him and about her. And you're like, hey, no, I've done that too. And Mandy, like, yeah, no, he used to do that. And we got over it. So you become now hope for them to see that, oh, they dealt with what we dealt with. Because when it comes to couples work, and this is, and in couples therapy, and I mean, and everyone's different. I don't know if I think I've found a good couples therapist because it doesn't give you perspective of here's where one group is and here's where another group is. Like you guys have said, you are the happiest, most healthy couple that you know. So it wasn't until I guess coming to Mexico, you're like, oh, and not that we're healthier, and that's not what I mean, but like you get to see someone else that's healthy and go, oh, and whatever. Like that's another, we don't see that often. We see that we're at the top and that
Mm.
everybody else is sort of needs some more tools. And now
Right.
we're kind of like, oh, there's more to go from where we are. And even if we don't embody it ourselves, Doug and I, you see like where it could go. And so I think that's important for every level to have hope to see that people can get through these hard times. You
Mhm.
had similar hard times and you have succeeded to connect and stay together and be better. And that was so important as an example for other people to realize and to have perspective. That's what I think about having just one-on-one couples therapy or couples therapy is that you don't get perspective because you can't see anybody else struggling with what you're struggling with. You don't get to hear their stories or see where they've gone through. You just keep thinking you guys are the broken ones and this isn't working and it's about you and it's about you, and we can't take the broader perspective of this is relationship. This is our humanness in relationship and our wounds and the things, the way that we interpret the world. And every couple goes through it in some way, shape, or form. And those that heal and prevail and move forward and connect are the ones that spend the time and the space. Take the space. You have to invest in your relationship and in your mental and emotional well-being the same as you invest in anything else because it won't happen by accident. You're
I
not,
think
it should, you're,
sorry.
no,
I
no,
think the biggest thing was that we're not alone. So we're not alone in this journey. We are not the only ones who have faced these issues. And I think that was huge for all of us that
Mhm.
that we're not an island. We're not, like stuck on a raft in the middle of the ocean by ourselves. There are other people that we can connect with who have been where we are, who can help pull us up or who can be there and be an ear because they've been through it.
right. Well, if you're listening to this and you're at all curious, go to jjflazanes.com/couples retreat. Just fill out an application. We don't have a date. We don't have a location, but we'd like to know you're interested in case you're interested in joining us in 2026 on the next Connect. Any last words from Mandy, Neil, or Doug?
Let me just add this about placing an emphasis on the live event that's going to be coming up in October. Is that
Hmm.
live event? Uh, while I think that we were able to impact the people that were at the Connect couples retreat, I think it started in the promotion of it too far into somebody's decision making process to get people turned around as quickly as they did. We started a little bit later than I think I would have liked to have started. I would emphasize to get your partner to the live event in October if you feel like this is something that would not just the couples retreat, but the entire all the programs, all the stuff that JJ does. I think it starts with understanding if everybody that was at that dinner that night last October who said that they wanted to come would have signed up, we would have been sold out in 2 seconds. Life happens when you come home from a live event. A partner doesn't see the requirement to go to something like this because everything's fine. But obviously, there is some disconnect there between your partner that isn't going and the partner that did go to the live event. So just know that if we got more of your partners to the live event in October, more people would come to the couples retreat. And I think it starts there. And I will blame this on the guys. Guys, you've got to listen to your spouse. When they say this is important, you got to take it. You got to take that as truth. It's important. Come to the live event. Come to the couples retreat, and get the learning started at some point.
Before Mandy and Neil, you say the last things, and I'll close the show. There's something it's a trick that I think no man can say no to. All right, ladies, listen up. So when you say, I'm interested in us doing a couples retreat potentially in the future. And so my question to you is, would you like to have more sex with me? And
It's
I don't
amazing
know
how that
any
trick
man
works every
that's
time.
gonna say no. Well, I think this is the road to get us there because I will learn how to allow that and move towards that more through the tools and the environment that gets created. So, would you like to have a closer, more intimate relationship with me, husband or spouse or partner? And they'll say, well, yes. Okay, well, I think the path to get there is this. So I don't know any man that's going to say, no, I don't want to have more sex with you. So ultimately, because we got to go with what's going to sell them on, am I going to get more sex? Yes. Okay, then we're in. How much does it cost? I literally had a client once who I encouraged her husband wanted more sex. She didn't. One of her tasks was to have sex with him. I found
Yes.
ways, like it was like in the shower, whatever. And he said,
Gamify it, babe.
no, but it was this idea that I'll grab the real credit card.
6
He
points
said,
for this.
he's like, so why all of a sudden are we having more sex? She's like, because JJ told me that I should. Well, give her my credit card and tell her to keep. He's like, here, whatever, you just keep going because I'm gonna get sex. Here's the credit card. Anyway, so but you position it for something that they want that's important to them. And again, yes, I agree with Doug. The first least financial commitment step would be to come to the live event in October. And you can learn more about that at jjfilzanes.com/unleash. Okay. Mandy and Neil, any last words for either us, yourselves, or anyone listening about anything we've talked about in regards to connect or growing yourself and living the life that you want?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for um, bringing this to us. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for pulling Mandy out of her shell.
And thank you for being real. That was super important. Thank you guys for being exactly who you are all the time.
Absolutely.
I think what I heard them say is you can't do an event without Doug. That's
What I heard. I heard that too.
I heard
Would
that.
I ever do an event without Doug?
No, of course not.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for being vulnerable, to put your story out there, to put yourselves out there, to inspire others, because you'll have more impact than actually you probably will ever know. People that you'll never meet will have been inspired by you and your story to make changes in their lives. And so I really appreciate your ability and willingness to share that story. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.